So, Mr. Wallace, thank you for being here. I know we were here either a week or two ago. I can't remember which. And frankly, I was concerned in that on the Zoom call, it appeared to me that there were a lot of people around you. And so I wanted to make sure that the information I was getting from you actually came from you.
Yeah.
And so, give me just a second here. I'm going to call this case up. So what's this all about? How is it you need an order against these folks?
She's stalking me.
How?
By following me everywhere I go. She I was out having a smoke. She came over to where I was at, so I went over to another area. She followed me over there. I went to another area. She followed me over there. I went to the grocery store, get some groceries. I came back, and the handicap ramp going into the apartment building, she blocked that door so I couldn't get in. She went around the corner, blocked that door, went around the main entrance, and she blocked that door so I could not get in. I went out, sat down in the parking lot, had a cigarette open, and she'd give up. When my caregiver came, I told my caregiver what was happening. So she was walking me to my apartment. She came into the hallway, screaming, hollering, cussing, calling us a bunch of names. She said she's going to have
Mrs. Amons did that?
She did this, man. She said she's going to have her husband kill us. There was a group of us together having a smoke. He came over there and he said he's going to kill the whole bunch of us.
How long have you lived there?
I've been there about 2.5 years.
How long have they lived there?
I don't know.
Were they there when you got here?
I believe so.
Okay. So how did this all come about?
I wish I knew.
Because you're not the first person to be here from this establishment.
Yeah.
And I was here for some other people, and I get, based on the body language, I'll hear from them in a minute. They're not going to agree with what you're telling me. And so I'm kind of having a tough time figuring out what this is all about.
Well, I'm sure it's a little group of people that she hangs out with that are supporting her. That's what I think it is.
Right. And okay, let me hear from her. And I didn't hear you say anything about Mr. Amons. Well, yes, you did actually. Yeah, you did. You did. Okay. So you're okay. Let me hear from the Amonses. What's your response to what we just heard from Mr. Wallace?
Well, about 90% of that is fabricated. It's not true. And I can tell you right now, he's being coerced from this other bunch. I got statements showing that Carla back there was asking people to get restraining orders on me since our last court date, in case this didn't work out. There is a video, and it's in my other stuff with from the manager and me. I was coming in through the back, and that was about 3 weeks ago, a month ago. This was actually before any court paperwork was delivered to any of us, or we went to court. I came in with a friend, and he was struggling over 4 lanes of traffic with 5 bags of groceries. All we did is walked in, tried to open the door for him and say, "Hey, Bob, I got the door for you." And then he kind of went off and threatened. That's when I put the statement in there that he tried to threaten to run over me. So I went to the front and just left. And so they went to the office. I went into the office, and the manager says, well, her caretaker said she didn't witness anything. And I said, yeah, I was just trying to help him. So if I was harassing and threatening him, I wouldn't have gone to the office. The only reason why I went to the office is because he threatened to hit me with his chair. And all I was doing was trying to help him open the door. That's how I am. That's the kind of person I am. But as a killing and harassing and follow him around, no, that's not true. I'm busy doing other things. And I don't have time in my day to follow Bob around everywhere. This is stuff that's being put into his mind, put into his head because of his dementia from that group. And I think with the previous court dates we've had, it shows the consistency of their statements are back to back to each other and identical. And that's about, and as my husband threatening to kill them, oh,
I'll swear him in. I'll hear from you.
okay, yeah.
You
this
said
is-
you had statements from other people about,
Yeah,
did you
right.
file those?
No, I didn't, because they just gave them to me within the last week.
Okay, do you want to file them? We can print them, we can make copies of them, and I can provide them to Mr. Wallace, and
Yeah,
I
I
can even
did.
give him time to respond to them, like, and then next time you can zoom in now that I've kind of had a look at you and heard from you. I'll allow you to zoom in next time. You don't even, if you want a chance to respond to it, but once you, how many do you have?
Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6.
Okay, why don't you give them over, give them to the clerk. He's gonna make copies for you. She's gonna make copies for Mr. Wallace.
And we didn't ask for it, sir. We didn't ask.
Okay,
for
well,
any of
just
those.
wait a minute, just wait a minute. You're gonna,
Your Honor, may I add something?
yes,
That gentleman back there in the black jacket, I guess he's Miss Forbes' dog walker, has been harassing me also, and
also,
going into the office and asking information about me, because the manager called me and told me, was wondering what was going on with that, saying they were trying to help Bob get a restraining order on me. Driving his car where I'm at the other side of the building, coming around and just staring at me. It's like trying to intimidate me and stuff. He doesn't even live there. And he has no
What's this-
business.
from your perspective, I asked Mr. Wallace the same question. Why is all this happening?
Well, I don't know,
This is, I have to say, we see a lot of unusual cases. This might be among the most unusual.
Well, the first year and a half, me and my husband, we helped Bob, we brought him meals. I helped him with this fish tank. My husband went in there and helped him set up his TV and VCR. We were constantly, me and Bob used to be friends. I'd walk his dog all the time, give him treats. And then Miss Forbes supposedly got power of attorney over him, medical power of attorney, this one too. And his whole demeanor just changed towards us. And so I just stayed away from him. So,
Mr. Amons, go ahead. I'll hear from you. What's your position on this?
It never happened. I never threatened anybody. I haven't seen Bob, like I said. In passing in the hallways, maybe in a year. And we used to be pretty good friends. Like my wife said, I hooked up his TV, helped him program his universal remote, bought him cigarettes when he was having trouble with his Social Security. We brought him food, gas for his truck.
what the hell is this?
And, he paid me back, but this is kind of crazy. What started this, there's two different groups. A group that hung around in the back, and a group that hung around in the apartment, in the front of the apartment. And they decided to put a smoking area in the front, which brought two groups of people together, which just didn't work. You weren't on one side and went on the other side. It just got to be a hassle. So I just stopped going out there completely. And the other thing, Your Honor, if I went around threatening to kill people, I figured somebody would call the police.
You would figure that.
Mhm.
Somebody. I never heard from the office about a complaint about that.
Nothing.
The first time I saw it was when I got the restraining. No contact order.
In this order that's out now with don't go upon, we don't even go upon him. So that's obviously working.
No,
because-
that just meant in their,
Yeah.
in their,
temporary.
So folks in the back, ma'am, you've been fairly demonstrative, I've noticed, as have people been talking up here. And so, Mr. Wallace, you know, people have, it's your case, you know, you can call whatever witnesses you think are appropriate. So do you have any witnesses you wish me to swear in and call, or?
I have witnesses that can come in.
Okay, I mean, are they here now?
Date, yeah.
What's that? I
They
mean,
could be here today, but we can come back.
okay, I'm kind of curious about those people in the back. And,
Oh, there's Carlos, he's my caregiver,
right,
and he landed this day, he gave us a ride over here.
okay. And again, well, maybe I'll be less subtle about my question. Do you want me to swear them in and hear from them or no?
Yes,
Okay. Does Mr. Amons just told me he helped you at one point, picked up your TV and, you know, bought cigarettes,
at
among
one
other
time
things.
when we were friends, yes.
All right. Well, how did all this fall apart?
I
I'll
have
ask that
no
from you.
idea, she just all of a sudden turned on me.
All right.
Tina,
Okay, hang on a second. I'm talking to him. They kind of said the same thing. They said they don't know how this happened either. All of a sudden, everybody's, yeah, anyway.
Some people.
Go ahead,
tell the
ma'am.
truth and some
You
don't.
can come up if you want them to testify. You can put your hand down. What's your perspective on all of this?
So I used to be friends with Amanda as well. when
Okay,
I
so ma'am, I
first-
want you're looking at me, okay?
Oh, sorry.
I'm asking the questions. You
Sure.
don't talk to the other people. You look at me.
Okay, I used to be friends with Amanda as well, when I first moved in. And, we got along very well. And then, I started witnessing behavior that I couldn't, be around. She was, calling people names and she would harass people. She would go up to them in the smoking area. She would do, behavior act in certain ways that I couldn't find for myself that was nice. She would,
So do you live there, ma'am?
I do live there.
And so how do
I
you,
can speak
how
specifically.
did you become to the caretaker from Mr. Wallace? How did that work? Or did you move in there to be his caretaker?
No. I actually have lived there. I'm just signed my 3rd year for my lease there. So I've been there for almost 3 years.
I see.
As far as Bob goes, I was looking for a part-time job. I'm on disability and I've been trying to figure out a way to get off disability. And so I was looking for a way to do that and I decided to become a caregiver.
I see.
And so Bob was my first client and I have 2 other clients at the reserve as well. And specifically speaking about Bob and the Amons, I can speak to Amanda. I can't speak about Steve, but I can speak about Amanda. The day in question about the doors, about him carrying groceries, he did have 5 bags of groceries. I didn't witness the first door that he tried to go in with the walkway for the ramp, but he did come around. So the building faces Safeway and there's a door on this side. You come around, there's the main door. And he was very upset coming around where I was smoking. And he was very distraught, very upset, very angry and frustrated. And he came up to me and I asked him what was going on. And he said that Amanda had blocked him and was yelling at him and refused to let him in the door.
But you didn't see any of this?
I did not see any of this. But so I said, well, why don't I go in with you? And I helped him carry his bags in. And Amanda was right at the front door. So she literally would have had to bust her behind to get from the side door to the front door. But she literally was at the front door waiting for Bob. Or it appeared as if she was waiting for Bob and was surprised to see me with him. And then we got in the doors and then yelling pursued into the main lobby. There was name calling, there was yelling and screaming, and we did go into the office. And while we were in the office, we talked to Carrie, who's the new manager there. And what she told us was that she suggested that we call the police department and see about filing a restraining order. And that's how the restraining order started. So I
see.
called and talked to, Officer Garrison, and Officer Garrison walked me through the restraining order process. And so I talked to Bob and I asked him if this is something that he would be interested in, and he said it was. And so we went and, we went down and came here and got the restraining order information. And so he and I sat down and we wrote out the restraining order together.
Did
But
you
is
write it?
It's in my handwriting, but it's from Bob's mouth, not from my mouth.
Give me just a second.
And that's not the only instance I've seen. I've seen other things where she's come around and called him names and yelled at him and tried to provoke a fight, those types of things. And she's done it with other people too that we hang out with.
Well, we were here a couple of weeks ago and
With Tina Marie.
yeah. Are you a caregiver for her also?
Yes.
Okay.
And Tina Marie has advanced Alzheimer's, which is why she had severe trouble speaking
Right.
on the Zoom. We should have brought her in here.
Well, here's the thing, ma'am, and everybody. You know, in front of me, I have people who at one time apparently used to get along. Both of them say they used to be friends. When I ask them what happened, no one knows. So they're not, but the reality of it is they're not friends anymore. They don't do anything for anything anymore.
May I say something?
When I'm done,
Okay.
go ahead, ma'am.
I was just gonna say that since the temporary's been in place and when Miss Amons was gone during the summer, because I know that she was with family during the summer, that has actually been the most peaceful it has been at the reserve. There's not been any conflict. It's been less stressful.
Okay. Well, an unlawful harassment is a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person that seriously alarms, annoys, or harasses, or is detrimental to such person and serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. Clearly you folks don't get along with each other anymore. And, but on the other hand, given the testimony, and part of my job is here, this happens all the time. It's probably going to happen in cases later today. One person's going to make one story, another person's going to have another story, and then I have to figure out what the right thing is and assess credibility and all that sort of stuff. And so again, we have two people where Mr. Wallace is saying, yeah, this happened and they did this, and then they're saying, no, it didn't, and not only did it not, he's been yelling at me, and so. Based on what's been presented, when a petitioner, the petitioner and the respondent are in two different situations. The petitioner, when they come, they're like the plaintiff in the lawsuit. They have a certain responsibility, and they have a burden of proof of showing by a preponderance of the evidence that it's more likely than not that this particular behavior occurred that rises to the level of harassment. And then I enter an order, and there's all kinds of ways to do that in terms of, corroborating evidence or anything like that. And so that's a long way of saying, based on the evidence, and then they said some things. The Amons submitted some things that from other people that saying, Mr. Wallace might not be the most agreeable person that they've ever seen either. And so, again, based on the evidence that presented here today, I'm not going to find that the Amons engaged in a pattern of harassment. Just because people don't get along doesn't necessarily mean that an order is appropriate. But I will land on what you said last and said, it's since this order's happened, it's been the most peaceful. And So then I would take that and encourage the Amons to act in a way that they have been since this order's been in place. And then hopefully folks can, you don't have to get along. You don't even have to like each other. You don't even have to look at each other, but just stay out of each other's way. And then that'll be that. And so you wanted to say something.
Last time you were here, there was mention about the state getting involved.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about that. And I don't know who, again, I'm gonna stop you. Stop. Okay. The only thing in front of me here today is, whether or not an order is appropriate in this place and at this time in this place, based on these parties. And I'm not going to enter an order here right now. If the state, I don't remember that specifically, but if the state gets involved, that's going to happen in a different court, and that's going to be not in front of here. But you folks, again, you don't have to get along with each other. You don't have to be friends. Just stay away from each other, and that'll be it. And if there's additional problems, you can bring things back. But I don't know. So the smoking area started all this? Is that what I heard? I think maybe Bob the people, and I hear it pretty much I hear smoking.
I don't agree with
Let me
that,
finish it.
but-
Well, hang on just a second, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So maybe that should be a lesson to everybody to not smoke. And we'll leave it at that. So you may go, Mr. Wallace. Thank you for being here. Sorry to inconvenience you. So you've asked for an order against Mr. Johnson. I'll hear from you. How is it you need an order from Mr. Johnson?
Your Honor, I just first would like to address the court about my language disorder. If I'm trying to get the words out, it's not because I'm trying to get it out.
Ma'am, you're doing fine as far as I can tell. If possible, I would like you to speak just a little louder. That's all. But other than in terms of your ability to communicate, I have no problem thus far. Take your time. You can speak as slowly as you like.
I entered in a motion on the 29th regarding an incident that happened on November 11th. I wanted to draw attention to that really quick. That's part of my case here today because there's a parallel investigation, open investigation.
Is that in Kitsap County?
Correct. I'm not sure which page. The clerks, it was all, the paperwork wasn't filed in order of how I arranged it. And every time I would ask for a copy, there were things.
Okay, so ma'am, you're asking for an anti-harassment order that restrains him from contacting you. So I need you to tell me, just in your own words, why is it you need an order against Mr. Johnson? And then at some point, I'm going to swear him in and I'll hear from him.
Yes, sir. The recent events is entering my home without permission. Been about 3 times.
How recently?
January and December.
Okay. And what has he done? And how do you know this? And what has he done?
Neighbors' cameras footage. My computer, when I log into my computer, on the drop down menu for when you're logging in, there's an email that I did not recognize. It's never been on my computer. It had his initials with a sequence of numbers behind it.
Tell me about the neighbor camera.
The neighbor camera
I thought I heard you say that one of the reasons he entered was because of the neighbor's camera.
When I wasn't home, the neighbor let me know that they saw his description walking away from my front stairs in the alleyway, headed in the direction of the recycle bins.
So continue on, ma'am.
I've been receiving location emails, or I had been before my email got hacked. I was receiving location emails from a website called Nextdoor. that particular website, I never signed up for anything. The first one was on December 29th. The second one was January 3rd. When I researched the company, they said they do not send notifications, random notifications to people. I've been told in the past by Mr. Johnson that he knows my whereabouts and has also told me over the phone, why are you watching TV with the lights off?
I thought I saw somewhere in your materials, something came to you in the mail that was taken from your house by him. Tell me about that.
Okay. This was around January, Thanksgiving week. I was visiting family up north, and I got a message from Mr. Johnson on Facebook Messenger that he was mailing me a keychain, and we had a mutual agreement of separation at that time. So I was like, okay, maybe he's just being nice, mailing me my stuff. But then when I got it, I realized that this particular item, this keychain, was in my possession when I left his place the last time we were physically, like, how would you say it? Contact? Sorry.
And briefly, if you can, tell me about this incident in November that's being investigated, just if you're able to. And then I'm going to hear from Mr. Johnson. Give me just a minute, ma'am. I'm going to come to Mr. Johnson here for a second, because I did read the materials that you submitted. And so, Mr. Johnson, could you raise your right hand, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
You swear and affirm the information you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
What's your position on her request for an order? It would be in place for the next year.
I'm being represented, and my lawyer's in trial right now. So
Well, at the start of this proceeding.
what's that? I'm sorry.
Who's the lawyer?
Adrian Pimentel. Pimentel is his last name.
Pimentel.
Pimentel, yeah. Thank you, Your Honor.
You need to tell me that up front.
Okay, I'm sorry, Your Honor. This is the first time doing this stuff.
Okay, so I wish I had known that up front, ma'am. So we're going to call a halt to the proceedings here right now. A temporary order has been in place. Well, we're going to reissue remember when you first came to get a temporary order, one was granted. Do you remember this?
Yes.
So there's an order in place right now. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
So we're going to reissue that. So that's going to stay in place. And we're going to reconvene in 2 weeks, Mr. Johnson. Is that going to be, and this can't go on forever. If Mr. Pimentel is not going to be available, then we're going to have to, either need to get someone else or we need to get this taken care of. You understand that?
Your Honor, can I?
Understand, Your Honor.
I object to that because he's known about this.
Right.
And I believe it would cause irreparable harm to me because of the report that I made, and he knows about it.
Right. So, well, here's the reality of the situation, ma'am. If we were to go, if I entered an order today, that order would be in place for the next year. It wouldn't be any different from the order that's in place right now anyway. So that there's still an order in place. He's not to contact you. Do you understand this? And so I hear what you're saying. It's obvious to me you're not comfortable being here. I do understand that. But I am going to allow just a one-time continuance. It'll happen one time. It'll be in front of me again, so you don't have to repeat what you've said. I will say, though, that just so you're prepared for this, if he hires an attorney, that attorney is going to be able to ask you questions. And so you need to be prepared for that. That's just the way things work.
Did he say he has an attorney?
He did. And so, and again, I wish I had known, maybe you didn't hear that. Maybe I should be more clear about that. He told me he's represented by an attorney and the attorney's in trial, so he couldn't be here today. I said, I wish I'd have known that earlier, so we wouldn't have gotten started on this whole thing. But I know that now. And so I am going to give him a chance to get his attorney here. It'll be a one-time shot. It'll be 2 weeks from today. Your position doesn't change. If I granted the order today, it'd be the same order that's in place right now. And so anyway, go ahead. You wanted to say something. I'll let you say something.
When I reviewed the filings with the court, there was no attorney listed.
Yeah, there still isn't. But and that's why I didn't catch it either. And so, but that's not uncommon to happen. People hire it late and then they get a notice of appearance in and things like that. And, you know, that's not, believe me, this is not the first time I've seen something like this.
Your Honor, I believe he's trying to delay my protection.
That might be the case. And if that might be, you might be right about that. And when we come back in 2 weeks, if you can convince me of your position, I'll hear from him, then the order will get done at that place. And then it'll go a year from then. And so, and like I say, an order right now is still in place. And so, because believe me, I've seen people trying, and I'm not saying you're doing that, Mr. Johnson. I know what you believe, ma'am. But it's not the first time I've seen this sort of people stall for time for whatever reason. We'll see here in 2 weeks, and you can let Mr. Pimentel, this needs to happen 2 weeks from today. Do you understand that, Mr. Johnson?
Understood, Your Honor.
Okay, it's actually 15 days since 2 weeks from today is a holiday. It's going to be Tuesday, the 20th.
Tuesday, the 20th.
And it's going to be courtroom 4, which you can zoom into that if you wish, ma'am. You're here present. I appreciate, frankly, my preference. This whole Zoom thing is a product of the COVID situation. I always like it better when people are in front of me, but I know it's a lot more convenient for people to. I'm
a face-to-face person.
I am too, but if you can free to appear through Zoom there, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you,
Your Honor,
The court said I could submit this micro SD as part of my.
I don't know what that is.
It's a video. It's an 11-second video.
Okay, I don't know do we have the capability to
It would have to be on like a flash drive.
Yeah, if you can convert it to a flash drive, you can file it.
I have it on a flash drive, but you would have to upload it.
Right, and you can, yeah.
Can do that.
Do you want to take it over to the clerk's office?
Yeah.
What's the video of?
Mr. Johnson calling me a bitch while he's drunk.
Okay, you can file that. You can take that to the clerk's office. They can help you get that in the file. And I apologize for the inconvenience. I'm sorry had I known that this was going to happen, we would have gotten you out here much earlier. And frankly, ma'am, a similar thing happened earlier today. That attorney appeared here. He's a recent appearance. And so had I known this, we would have done the same thing for you. So you wouldn't have had to go through this here this morning, and you would only have to go through this once instead of twice. But so.
Your Honor, what is the.
You're going to give a copy of this here. Hang on just a second. Ms. Brown is asking for an order against Ms. Conyers. And so I'm having trouble figuring out the relationship. You submitted quite a lot of writing there. It was difficult for me to figure out. Ms. Brown, how do you two know each other? Or actually, before you do that, could you raise your right hand, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you swear to affirm the information you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Your Honor.
I'm getting a lot of background noise from someone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can put your hand down. So how do you know her? What's your relationship with her?
I have no relationship to Natalie Conyers. She is the girlfriend of the father of my children. And I don't know her in any other manner, but as a girlfriend. and I don't know her actually. She just shows up, and it's never in any good way. I mean, it's always to piggyback off of conflict or a conversation or an argument between me and the father of my children, just causing problems.
Well, okay, so why don't you give me some examples of what she's doing?
Okay, so so the very last time that I had been directly
Stop you. Yeah, start with most recently and then work backwards. I would do it that way.
Yes, Your Honor. So January 15th, actually the most recently was like January 28th, maybe. She had appeared in the car with the father of my children after there was some conflict before that. I had expressed to the father of my children and to her that she shouldn't talk to me. She has no reason to. She's just his girlfriend and has no reason to talk to me. And so on January 29th, she had showed up in like a taunting manner. She was waving at me, talking at me through his car, and, you know, putting her hands on my children and like, oh, like, hey, look, I'm touching your kids type of manner, and speaking to me through the car. And I was like, you know, in January, I felt really uncomfortable by that. But also because of the fact that January 15th, me and the father of my kids have a verbal agreement that we weren't going to be having third parties, specifically because of Natalie Conyers' continuous appearance to message me through social medias. And on January 15th, me and the father of my children had a disagreement. We were outside about my daughter's hair, and he had been holding my daughter, and then I told him I would come back for her after her hair was like unbraided, and because Natalie Conyers chose to braid my daughter's hair. And so he took my daughter back inside, and I proceeded to drive off, and then he came out with my son, and at that point, whilst he had my son, and I had to come out of my car and walk up the hill because he was running down the hill with my son. Natalie Conyers had came out the house holding my daughter and screaming at me, calling me names, called me a neglectful mom, called me the bitch, saying that I need to take care of my children, that she's seen scars on my children. This has caused me a lot of, mental health like problems. Like I shouldn't have to go to a pickup and drop off and worry about Natalie Conyers trying to tell me about what she's experienced behind closed doors. I don't know her. And I've expressed to her and the father of my children, and I've sent you evidence of this, that I do not want her talking to me. I've expressed to my friends. I've told her, don't talk to me. In November of 2022, she sent a group chat. She put me in a group chat with a friend of mine because of the fact that he was my friend, saying that she called the police on me. I do not know Natalie Conyers. She said that she called the police on me because she believed that I had broke into the father of my children's car, and I was 7 months pregnant at this time, mind you. So I've expressed to her and the father of my children in multiple ways, you do not need to talk to me, Natalie. And she has given me excuses on why she has the right. She's around my kids, so I should be comfortable with talking to her. I have tried to make peace with the father of my children. And, instead of like saying, I don't want Natalie Conyers around me, I said, let's not have third person parties present during pickup and drop off. And she has continuously showed up. She's gotten on the phone, on the father of my children's phone, and she has started arguments with me due to disagreements me and the father of my children have had. This happened in December. This happened over the summer of 2023. And it happened in January as well. But she was telling me she's read all of our texts, and so she knows everything that's going on. And I'm like, at this point, I don't know what else to do but to, seek legal help. I called the police to see what the next step is. I don't want to have to come to court for this. I should be able to tell Miss Natalie Conyers, please do not come near me. Don't talk to me. And she has persisted. and been relentless and trying to come into contact with me through the means of the father of my children. I do not know her.
I think I'm going to stop you, and I'm going to hear from her. So, Ms. Conyers, would you mind muting, ma'am, Ms. Brown? Because I'm. Okay. What's your position on her request?
I personally feel that for all the things that she is saying, she's leaving out the things prior to each of those incidents. Whenever it comes to contacting, I've only ever messaged her off of my own personal phone on social media one time, and that was in a group chat, but that came from her relentlessly coming to our residence, or her using the phone and everything to berate my fiance or berate myself. She has mentioned comments of my daughter, and I was never ever interacting with her. I was never speaking to her. We then met in person all at a park because she wanted to have a sit down, a meetup with everyone, because she wanted us to be able to co-parent and all these things after she had sent her mother and her aunt to our residence to then have them try to intimidate me in the home while his family was present. It was on the first birthday of their daughter. When we all met in public at the park, we all had a agreement, a verbal understanding that we were all going to take care of the kids. There would be no incidents of drama from the past or anything. I let her know that I did not care for anything. I knew about their previous relationship. I knew that it was a domestic situation, and I did not want any of that coming around my child. When I look at the evidence that she did place into court, I do see that she put the only thing I've ever legally or in trouble at all, really, which was a court case with my father from 2022, I believe. And then that she has me blocked, which I also have her blocked on social media, because when we sent that text, I never reached out to her. I had her blocked on social media. There was an incident where my son, Roman, who was born in September of last year, had RSV, was in the hospital. We were in there for 3 days. And for those 3 days, while the doctors were in and out, she was consistently blowing up the phone, and it was so loud that other people could hear, of her just berating and being upset of the fact that me and my fiance were taking care of our son in the hospital. So as far as all the claims and everything that's going on, all I ever did whenever it came to Aaron and Araya, I took care of them in the way that I knew was comfortable with my fiance and in ways that were comfortable with her, while also trying not to interfere for all of the things that she wants done in certain ways. When it comes to drop-offs, she was the abuser in past years. So that's why nobody feels comfortable with him just being by himself, when she has been known on previous accounts to be very aggressive, to be very violent, to be very maliciously intended when it comes to him. So I have went along with for drop-offs, but whenever she says that I am making faces, there's always either 1 or 3 other kids in the car, which are my fiance's oldest, Eliana, my oldest, Harlow, and our youngest, Roman. So if we are facing in a drop-off, if you see that I'm in a seat turned around, I'm interacting with all the kids. I'm a very hands-on mom. So I do interact. I sing songs in the car with them. I play with them. I do a lot of things with them. So if that is where she is taking that there's mocking, I would never ignore a child if they get placed in a car. So if I'm strapping in a child, I will interact with them. And still, if there's songs playing, we're all singing the songs, just because that's how I am. So I feel like it's a lot of stuff that has popped up from her just being uncomfortable or upset with the fact that I am in the picture, that I'm present in the children's life. Yes, there have been things that I had said in the past that were rude, but there were also things on her end that were said as well. And none of those things, when she brings into court and light, she's not bringing in any of her texts. She's not bringing in any of her comments and things, like none of that stuff's being brought in. So I just feel like it's all just really based off the fact of I am in the house still. I'm still in a relationship with him.
Okay. So Ms. Brown, I'm going to come back to you. You can unmute your.
Yes,
what happened about the park situation?
So, as I had said recently before, that I had tried to come to like an agreement with the father of my children. It was very early on in their relationship. it was obvious that she was going to be a part of the children's life. And so I'm like, I want to be able to at least meet this person, because before she was hiding in the house. This is his family's house. She kind of moved in because of the domestic violence situation with her father. Before they had met and then kind of woven relationship. She was living there, and I didn't know this, but that was not here nor there. So I had gone and I had asked the father of my children, like, who is this person? Because she's going to be around my kids. So he said, we can meet at the park and you can, greet her, or, you guys can talk. I want to know who this person is what she wants to be to my kids. And that was it. And so we did have a meeting, and it was a cordial conversation. Like, she was going to be around in an appropriate manner, and she wants to maintain the appropriate boundaries as a third party to the co-parenting of me, like between me and the father of our children. And she said she did not want to cause any conflict. She was only there to support him as a father, and and that was that conversation. That was that meeting. But after that.
So when did this meeting take place?
It took place in it took place in summer of 2022 to 2023, summer of 2023.
Okay, so a while ago.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
She's telling me also that she agreed that she called you, and you said also an unpleasant name, but then she's telling me, you sent some texts that weren't so great either. Is that true or not true? Or
conversations were between me and the father of my children before she's leaving out. She told me she reads the text of me and the father of my children. I'm telling him, please do not have her talk to me. She on the phone at the hospital, when she took his phone, when we were talking, we were actively in a parental conversation. She believes that I have some type of vendetta against her because of the fact that she's living at his parents' house with him, and the fact that, she's there in my kid's life. I have no problem. This is why I didn't try to get a restraining order for my kids, because I believe that the problem isn't that she's around my kids. It's the fact that she's trying to use my kids as a means to contact me because she has a problem with me. That's certain. That is a fact. She has a problem with me. Me and the father keep it short in every instance. The pickup and drop off is about 5 minutes every time. And she's trying to use the domestic violence. She's claiming that there's no charges on domestic violence against me. She's trying to make up reasons to be present. That is the only thing that she's doing. She's making up reasons to talk to me, giving herself justification to be in my face in any manner that she finds convenient for her at the time. She has yelled at me. It's almost become at January 15th, that pickup and drop off, which caused me to have to come to have this restraining order asking for this, is because she tried to fight me. The father of my children's mother had to come in between us because she had worked herself up enough to get in my face, in my face, and she was berating me. Yes, these aren't just one-liner comments. She was going off on me, and I don't need that when I'm just trying to get my kids in every manner. I do not talk about her unless she makes herself present. I'm like, she has no reason to talk to me. I've told her, please do not, Madeline Conyers, talk to me, and she finds excuses to. And
so hang on just a second. You can mute back up. Ms. Conyers, what's your response to the most recent incident in January where she said that you were berating her? What's that all about?
The incident that she's talking about, it actually took place in a span of 2 weeks. It was 2 incidents that took place in that time frame where she told my fiance that she was coming to get the children after we had them for the time period that he is supposed to have, plus extra time as well, because anytime she has ever asked for any extra help with the kids, we always do. So when that situation happened, I was inside with only one of the children still getting them dressed. The other one was in the bath and everything like that. We knew that she would be there. She just didn't say what time. She said that there was something with her car on both incidents that she would need to get there, just get the kids to go. So I made sure to already have Araya's hair done. I do Araya's hair in a way that I know her hair is well taken care of, and it's also something that her father wants done to his child's hair. So it's not just one parent wanting one thing on a child's head. And so whenever these incidents happen, whenever I did finally come outside, they had already been in an argument or a disagreement for at least 10 minutes prior to me even going outside, because I was waiting on Adam to come back. He was supposed to be giving one of the children to her and then coming back and getting the other. So therefore, nobody in the household would have to interact with Alani. Whenever that did not happen, I could tell that with Eliana, the oldest daughter, being in the home, who is not particularly comfortable with this female, we were trying to hurry up and get the situation to where she would leave the premises as soon as possible, because we did not want anything happening to this child who has been verbally abused by Alani in the past. So therefore, whenever I went outside with the child, as soon as Alani saw me walking outside holding one of her kids, it was instantly an instant of just yelling. After she had already, everybody had witnessed that what's going on outside, she was already having issues with just Adam in general, just going at him. But when I came outside, it then turned on me because I am holding the child. I'm the person who is bringing the child out to her. So we did get into it. And yes, I did call her a neglectful mom. And I did say other things that were not very nice, but it was also from those things. His mom, who is my mother-in-law, she was telling Alani to leave. They had been trying to give her children to her because she said she wanted to pick them up. Alani was trying to leave without her kids. This has happened on 2 accounts where she will come, and we're trying to do the drop off so that there's no, because they do have another open case right now. We're trying to keep things in order so that there's no issue coming in on both sides. And she was trying to leave on both instances. When she did leave, there was one time we called the cops after the incident. And so there is a police report that has already been filed about that matter from the first drop off, not the very last one, but the one before that. But these are both in the same time span. And it comes from days, hours of her texting and calling my fiance's phone, long paragraph text messages, just berating him, yelling, saying negative things about him, about his family, about all these things, her saying that she does not want anything to do with the kids and all these things. It's very sporadic. It's very unnerving. And she's using me as someone who does want to be a part of the children's life, who does have a good relationship with them. And me always knowing that she does have a problem if someone does not ask her how to do things. But if we cannot be in contact with you and you are the mother saying that you want things done a certain way by a certain time, by all these
it's caused us problems.
All right. Give me a second here. You can mute up there, ma'am. So harassment is a knowing and willful course of conduct directed at a specific person that seriously alarms, annoys, harasses, or is detrimental to such person and serves no legitimate or lawful purpose. And it's a series of acts over a period of time. So I'm not out there. I'm not watching you interact. And this is Ms. Brown. I'm not sure exactly what her behavior has been, but the issue is she wants an order not to have you contact her, Ms. Conyers. And based on what I've had, I am going to find that there's been, you've said things like, well, you want to protect, you're not your, well, he's not your husband yet. Your fiance is how you refer to him. You're not his bodyguard or his protector or anything like that. You're also not a parent to these child. You might become a step parent or a pseudo parent or what have you, but that's between Ms. Brown and the father of the children. I don't think I ever heard his name, but that's not important. That's between them. You need to let them work it out. And so I am going to grant an order for 1 year and saying things like calling her a neglectful parent, calling her those other things. And, maybe she's not a saint either. Sometimes orders need to go both ways, but there's only one person here right now. But you need to let Ms. Brown deal with the father of her children, and you need to stay out of things. And because the person who's going to get hurt in all this is, these children, they're young, but they're, believe it or not, even at this age, they're watching and they're getting the hang of what's going on. And, the more drama, the worse it's going to be for them in the long run. And so all the parenting issues that need to be handled by Ms. Brown and and again, the father of the children, whatever. I don't know that I ever heard his name. So the order is going to be there's not going to be a distance restriction. You're just not to contact her. Don't take the phone. Don't speak to her on the phone. Don't send her text messages. Don't get into it at the child exchange and whatever reason. And if there's issues between Ms. Brown and the father of her children, let them deal with it. They're both adults and they can work that out. And so basically the order just says be in place for 1 year. And so Ms. Brown, for her part, she can be present and just child exchange because there's not a distance restriction. She's just not to engage with you at all. So sometimes we put don't come within 1,000 feet or I'm not going to do that. But and that's what it's going to be. And then if a year, hopefully, if things straighten out, I mean, and here's the other reality. You know, you've said you called him your fiance. If you get married, you guys are going to be in each other's lives for quite a long time. And you've got to learn to figure things out where this doesn't happen all the time at all. It shouldn't happen at all. I mean, you both need to be grown up. She's the mother of his children. He's going to be married. Could be married, going to be, I'm hearing, to the father of your children. You're all going to be around and be present. So you better learn to get along with each other. Otherwise, the people you're going to be damaging are these children here. And that's to both of you. So don't cause any harm. Don't have any contact. And yeah, and that's basically it. Other than that, you can do whatever you want to do. You can still be you can even be in the same room, but just don't stay away from each other. Don't contact each other. See what I mean? That's it for today. You can get a copy of this order off the Thurston County District Court website.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.